The following program may contain adult language and mature subject matter and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Reality Radio 101, its advertisers and sponsors, or its listening audience. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Sex by Hazzard with your host, Jen Hazzard, right here on Reality Radio 101. To contact Jen live right now, dial 905-725-1907. Toll free in North America, 1-866-905-7325. Worldwide, 1-866-656-5477. Email Jen right now, realityradio101@yahoo.com. And now, your host of Sex by Hazzard, Jen Hazzard.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me in this lovely night in Toronto, Canada, coming to you live. And we have some very, very special guests. I'm quite excited. It's going to be a different show than what we're typically used to tonight. And we'll be introducing them in just a minute. But first of all, I want to say, you know, as most of you are aware, there was no show last week due to a family event. And I wanted to say my daughter got married last week, and that's why there was no show. And it was a terrific, wonderful event. And something that Gary pointed out last week, when he has, those of my regular listeners know that he keeps a teal vibrator in his studio at all times. Gary, you want to hold it up for the guests to see the lovely? And Gary pointed out last night that my nail polish actually matches the teal vibrator. And I was wearing a teal dress for the wedding.
This is for Lynn, by the way. She said she has no sex life.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's our studio vibrator that our regular listeners are well aware of. But my daughter did get married, and it was a beautiful, lovely event. And we're back this week. Now, my guests, an interesting mix, to say the least. And I guess first I'm going to introduce Randi and Lynn. And Randi and Lynn are starting a new venture together. They have a booth at the Curtis Flea Market in Curtis, just about 45 minutes east of Toronto. And Randi, first of all, I want to say welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and Randi, you have this booth as well. You are a hypnotist.
That's right.
Yes, and you've also been a friend of mine for a while. I've known you for a while, and I'm thrilled to have you on here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Lynn.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and tell us the name of the booth, I guess, or the
booth or the room, as I'm going to call it, is called Freya Metaphysical Enterprises, Inc.
Okay. And you've had this booth for a while, or you're expanding it?
This is a new venture for Randi and I.
Okay.
The Curtis Flea Market was well known for having a local psychic, and the psychic has since decided to move on and do weekday ventures instead of weekend ventures.
Okay.
So I was approached by the flea market because it was suggested that I might know something about psychics. And that maybe I might know a psychic that might want to work at the flea market. And I looked at the manager of the flea market and I said, I think I can do better than that. And I said, give me a half an hour. And I called Randi, and she came over, and we had a little meeting, and we decided that we could make a bigger business than a single psychic, and we could take the psychic mediums that we knew in Durham region and put them to work.
Very good. Very good. Now, you are a psychic?
Yes.
Yes, and I know, well, we'll talk more about that end of it later. Randi, you know, I've known you for quite a while. Do you consider yourself a medium, a psychic? I know you do a lot of healing work.
I consider myself to be an intuitive reader. I come from a long line of tea leaf readers. My grandmother was a tea leaf reader, and so I came into that honestly, you might say. So I do a lot of psychic work, but I would consider myself an intuitive. That's how I would brand myself, yeah. Okay, very good.
And then you brought with you Scott. How do you pronounce your last name, Scott?
McClelland, like the Scotch.
Okay. and you are going to be doing a show. It's the grand opening this Saturday. And I believe the show starts at 10:30. And the show is called the Paranormal Show.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and tell us about that, what that involves.
Well, the Paranormal Show is a show that's been around now since 1997. I've performed it all over North America. It was the longest-running stage show in Toronto in a format based on the supernatural in its history. The show itself is based on the metaphysical, the supernatural, the things that go bump in the night. And basically the person that I portray on stage is basically a lot like myself, but he is a parapsychologist from the 19th century, and so you take the journey with him through kind of a rather unusual an unusual kind of walk into that world.
Oh, very cool.
Being that time period, the 19th century, was a time period where spiritualism was booming and science and religion were clashing. And I felt that it would be much more interesting than playing a person from the now than to play a person from then and bring the audience into it. It's a very audience-involved show.
Oh, very good.
And they become a part of everything that takes place on stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, we're certainly going to be talking about that more as the show goes on. I wanted to introduce Jessica.
Yes.
Yes, and Jessica, tell us about yourself.
Well, I've actually been working with Scott for about 3 years now. Everything from performing. I'm also a tarot reader as well, which I've been really getting into in the past year or so. But at this particular event, at Lynn's launch, I'll actually be providing some refreshments, some nice sweets and treats and that sort of thing. So.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Some sort of adult twists on your favorite snack foods. So salted dark chocolate almonds and
nice
cayenne hot chocolate and that sort of thing.
Cayenne hot chocolate.
It's an experience.
Is it spicy? Like what?
It is. It's the flavor profiles actually work very well together. It's a very It's sort of a I guess more complex flavor than a normal hot chocolate. It's got a slow spice to it, a little bit of heat, but not overpowering.
Okay.
But it's a very sort of smoky, complex kind of flavor.
And that sounds absolutely lovely.
Yeah, slow heat.
Yes.
Yeah, you can just imagine, huh? They'll all be running after the show and trying to get home or going to park somewhere.
Yeah, no kidding. I am sucking on the almonds.
That's right. That chocolate high will take you everywhere.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've never heard of it. You wouldn't think that the two would go together, but I can imagine that would be a very exotic type of flavor. Where did you even hear of cayenne hot chocolate?
I really kind of just play around with foods, and I sort of think, I like both of these things. Together they'll be fantastic. And some of the time it is, some of the time it's
yeah,
it's questionable. But
it's actually your invention then.
I'm sure it's quite popular. Aztec hot chocolate, like the ancient Aztecs used to make, was quite different. But it was cocoa, wine, cayenne peppers, and it was a very sort of a thick drinking chocolate, more of a almost close to a sludge sort of thing. Okay. Very different from the hot chocolate that we know now. But the flavor profile is very similar, and that's kind of carried over, some sort of inspired the newer drinking chocolate that I'm making.
Yeah. Oh wow, it does. It just sounds lovely. And this now the booth that you, or the room that you have there, I know you called into the ladies' night last night, and we're talking. You were saying that it's large enough to be able to have 4 readers at a time.
Yeah, and that's where we did the improvement. If you can imagine a small booth with a psychic in it being closed for the reading and people wanting a reading and having to put their name on a list just to wait around for a reading, they might get discouraged and leave.
Right, right.
So we wanted to eliminate that by making more readers available, and each reader that we have has a specialty that's a different modality.
Oh, very good.
We have a pool of about 14 readers that we will be cycling through. And sometimes we might even have a few guest readers come in.
Oh, very good.
And if you think about it, if someone was coming for a reading and their family wanted to go wander the flea market, pretty much it should be able to happen right when they want to do it if there's enough people available to do readings.
Right, right.
So this is why we've done it like that. We've created a room with ambiance. We've curtained it off. It looks kind of like a stage from the outside, but when you walk in, it's a carpeted room with really beautiful cafe tables, and they're subdivided with curtains, and there's a little screen barrier, so people that are getting readings can't see each other, you know, when they're getting the reading. And when we're not using the room for readings, example, some Saturday mornings we can pull back the inner curtains and create a classroom.
Oh,
so we can
neat?
do some spiritual development classes on interesting things like nutrition, or new processes, drum making. You know, we'll have little workshops and classes going on to fill up some Saturday mornings here and there.
Isn't that a neat idea? You know, and I really like the idea, and I think I can see where a lot of people would appreciate the idea of having, you know, different ones coming in, and that way, because there's a lot of regulars that go as well, and you know, people that are there weekly, so it gives them a chance to try out different mediums in the community. And what are some of the, you said they're ones with different modalities, is that
modalities? Yes.
So what are some of them typically that'll be coming?
Well, we will have a few tarot card readers,
okay,
or fortune card readers.
Yeah.
We also have psychometry readers. Psychometry is the reading of a personal object, photograph, letter, something like that.
Okay.
We have people that are automatic writers.
Oh, wow.
We have people that do spirit readings. So the spirit, maybe they'd use an oracle card, or just use a spirit meditation to get into it and do spirit-based messages. We also have a rock reader.
Oh, wow.
There's so many. Let me think.
We
Randy, can you think of any?
Yeah, we have spirit artists too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, very cool.
So very creative.
What is a spirit artist? What does that involve?
A spirit artist will do a reading. They'll tune into the person that's having the reading, like the client, and then a lot of times all kinds of colors come forward, and they'll do a wonderful small painting for the person. So not only do they get a reading, but they also get a little painting afterwards.
Oh, isn't that
and
neat?
There's a lot of people that find that very impactful when they get that kind of reading.
Okay, I guess seeing the visual, like I know a lot of people are very visual. In fact, a friend of mine had something similar done, and she talked about it a while ago, and she said they had it done as a couple. You know, and she said that you could very clearly see in the picture, like a lot of different direction for them to go, and they really enjoyed it. And they framed it and put it up in their bedroom too. Which reminds me, we got to get to sex. Like we got to squeeze the sex.
We got to tie this into the bedroom now.
It's
always
we got to get some. Yeah, no kidding, and everything, right?
Yeah.
It was funny. I was at a campfire this week and talking to a friend of mine, and I said, I said, I've got to figure out how to tie in. How do you tie in spirits and with sex type of thing? And, he goes, when you think of it, sexual energy is so spiritual, and it's everywhere, and it does tie in. I believe a lot of it ties in. And from my own experiences type of thing, when you have that connection with someone on a spiritual level, to me it increases the intimacy and the bond and the relationship. And I can imagine too with readers, probably a lot of the questions are geared towards relationships and what direction do we go and that type of thing as well.
And just think about it. We can have a couple come in, and one can go with one reader and one can go with the other, and then they can touch base after.
Isn't that
so they can be intimate with their questions about what they want. Now, kind of a small rule of thumb would be that you wouldn't want to ask about the other person, but you can ask about your involvement in it.
Right.
Because the reading is for you, not the other person. You're not trying to fortune tell or predict the other person's future. You want your own. Because everything is about self-development.
Right.
And when we're talking about sex, that's all self-development.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if we don't know ourselves, we are up the creek.
Yeah.
When it comes to being in the bedroom.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
I remember when I told my kids each of their sex talks.
Yeah.
I have 3 boys that I had to give sex talks to in their teens, and I would sit them all down. And actually, the first sex talk was funny. It was over a game of ping pong, and I said to him, I said, I'm not going to tell you can't have sex before you get married. I'm not going to tell you all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to tell you one thing: if you cannot stand in front of that girl and masturbate naked in front of her, you're not ready. It was amazing. All of the boys really handpicked the women. Like, they didn't just, sleaze themselves out with all the girls in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
They waited a long time because I think they had that visual in their head.
Yes.
That I had given them. But I didn't know what to say. I was desperate to make sure they didn't do anything crazy.
Do you know, when you think of that, though, there's so much truth in that. Like, even couples that have been together a while, some of them can have barriers as far as masturbating in front of each other. There's that level of trust would have to be there, and intimacy, and I think in a lot of ways, especially a new relationship, if you're comfortable doing that, definitely you've got someone you're comfortable with.
Well,
and meant to be
at
with.
least if you know how to make yourself happy, you can tell them what you like.
That's right.
I mean, I don't know. And back in the old days, people were afraid to open their mouths. And
yes.
What happened? We had a generation of a lot of divorced people.
Yes, definitely. And I still see that as an issue in today's society as well, as we don't talk about it enough as families, as a mother to a son, or just as couples, the communication, having that communication and that understanding, and making it a God-given beauty instead of something that's dirty type of thing too, right? Like, it's really, I think, one of the best things in life. In a lot of ways.
And then I think the other big thing about growing relationships and the spirituality and keeping that energy whole within a couple,
yes,
is you always have to find these new directions that you would be interested in as a couple that might be just a little way out. And it doesn't mean you have to be in a dungeon somewhere, or it doesn't mean you have to, go have sex on the side of the CN Tower or something. But what it means is you find something that gets you all excited and you have interest together and you share. And my husband and I have shared being in Sideshow with Scott and his lovely Jess now for the last few years. And that's the way we have fun.
Oh, very good.
And now we share with the whole psychic and spiritual side. He's taking on healing and psychic development classes himself.
Oh, very good.
So now we have these great bonds where we have this like interest. If you can keep your like interest going, it's fantastic.
Yes.
We've been together over 30 years.
Long time.
A long time.
A long time. Do you feel there is still romance then in your relationship?
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah. It's funny. We have a roommate who lives with us who's an adult. And she says, you know, you guys don't touch enough. I said, no, you don't see us touch.
Yeah.
We're the pass by in the hallway touchers. You know, we give each other the grope as we pass by the bathroom door. I said, you just don't notice it because you're watching TV.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think that a lot of people sort of forget about, especially, you know, younger people my generation, is it's not really, you know, the big grand gestures. It's, you know, the small gestures that just really add up. That means more, you know.
Oh, yes.
Just over time, you know, just small looks or you know, smiles or whatever, as opposed to just a big, you know, expectation of this one big event, you know.
Yes. And really, I mean, romancing and foreplay, it does take place all day, really, you know, with a little look and a little gesture, and, you know, that what a beautiful way to build up, you know, the excitement and the energy between a couple as well.
My eldest son says to me, Mom, why did you get a TV in the bedroom? You know that's the first way to ruin your sex life. I said, oh, yes, my dear. It's the only way I can stop everybody else in the house from hearing my sex life. Put Star Wars on really loud. Nobody knows what you're doing.
Why are you watching that movie every other night?
Oh, no, the TV's on again. We better leave.
Yeah. When it goes on repeat, you know that we're in trouble.
Yeah. Very good. Now, I want to hear more about what this show, Scott. Like, what is it? You know, I've seen pictures from Lynn before, and
yes.
You know, it looks so interesting. I know your outfit. You've got a how do I say this nicely? A spooky look.
Oh no, that's not a bad thing at all to say.
No,
to me.
I mean it nicely. Yeah. But you know, you shared with me a little bit before the show about that this is something that has been in your family.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you talk about, you know, what has your family done in the past? And
well, in a nutshell, my grandfather owned the largest traveling circus sideshow in Canada from 1920 through 1968.
Wow.
And my grandmother could swallow 7 swords at one time.
Your
She's
grandmother. Wait a minute. Okay, now is
Yeah.
this not a topic for a sex show? Here I am worried we're going to keep it sexy,
This
and
is
your
my
grandmother
grandmother
swallows.
we're talking about.
But I mean, keep in mind, how many kids does she have?
9.
She obviously didn't swallow all that often now, did she? There's not that many children there. Yeah. Wow. And how, okay, so obviously you saw her doing this. How did she do it?
Very well. No, she was very good at what she did, and it's a very dangerous act.
Right.
70% of sword swallowers die on stage performing their feat.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a huge margin. It's a very deadly act to perform. She did not die from sword swallowing, so that was a great thing.
Yeah.
But my grandfather, in his show, because the show was it was around during the vaudeville time period, and of course the word vaudeville means a time period of shows where, you know how we watch TV and we can turn the channel, we can watch comedy, and then we can watch a little bit of sports, and then we can watch the news.
Right.
Well, vaudeville was like that. You'd see melodrama, you'd see comedy, you'd see, like, you know, strongman feats, all that on stage. And my grandfather had a traveling vaudeville-styled show.
Wow.
And in the show, apart from the sideshow itself, he also did live seances. And basically, he had a darker side that was very intriguing, because he would perform things on stage that went beyond just being a magician, or, you know, a escape artist, or even a sideshow performer. He was something really to be reckoned with. And outside of the show itself, he was seen as a sage. People would come to him with their problems, and he would help them through their problems through different types of therapy, ranging from just explaining to them how they can get past it, to he was a botanist and a chemist, and he had created salves and different medicinal things that could be used to help a person with arthritis or, with eczema and
Very
things
cool.
like that. And so this was the real old-time traveling shows that did everything. Like when you think about a show these days, you just go to the theater. With my grandfather, when you went out to see one of his large events, because they were huge, you would get cured of things. You would have a spiritual epiphany. You would basically you would have a great day. Which was, not unusual for anybody, but I mean, it was a great day because there was so much that was given to you. My grandfather invented many things that make people happy today. He was the inventor of the first collapsible Ferris wheel. All Ferris wheels before that were built by the Ferris Company, and they were built upright, made of wood. And if they were moved, of course, through the prairies, the winds would blow them over and they'd splinter into nothing. My grandfather just thought that was disgusting, so he built the first iron-styled Ferris wheels that could be folded in half and moved on trailers, which was the advent of trailer-based rides. He also invented the mechanism that makes the horses go up and down on the merry-go-round, because he wanted the children to feel the actual motion of horses as they went in circles. And to top that off, that motion again was very important to him, so he invented the teacup ride at Disneyland. And all these different things he invented to make people happy. But the largest thing that he ever invented, which I think is really unusual, is something we live with every single day. Now, back in the 1920s on a carnival, the only things you could drink were either milk, and you had to have dairy cattle for that. Lemonade, you had to have lemon trees for lemons. Or if you wanted to have sarsaparilla or root beer, both of those were carbonated drinks, and back then carbonation wasn't like having big cylinders like we have under a bar these days. That being said, being that he was a chemist and a botanist, he sat down and he said, I need to create something that people can drink that will have some kind of flavor. So my invented the flavor crystal, Kool-Aid. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And so basically what happened was he used it in his magic show when people didn't understand what a flavor crystal was. He would come on stage with a big bowl of water, and he'd go, ladies and gentlemen, I have here a bag of flour and a bowl of water. What happens when I put flour into water? The audience would take and yell back, you'd get dough. Well, that's kind of true. Watch this. And he'd take and pour the bag of flour into the water, and the water would turn bright red. And he'd take a ladle and he'd start to stir it up. And then he'd ladle out 25 glasses to the front row. And he goes, ladies and gentlemen, this is our magic strawberry drink. If you enjoy it, it's only 5 cents at our concessions today. And that's how he sold it to start with, before it became big. And he was the guy that brought us the flavor crystal.
Isn't that
neat? And being that, in his show he did so many wonderful magical things on that level, when people came to see him perform, they expected big things. He was like a Canadian Walt Disney in that respect. And that's why Disney got in touch with him to make the teacup ride, because he wanted something fun as a ride creator, and my grandfather could bring that to the table.
Well, I've ridden on your grandfather's invention, and I've even drank your grandfather's invention.
I know.
So.
I had a feeling, and it's exciting. Coming from that family, I apprenticed under him. He passed away at 103. I was 25 at the time.
Wow.
And so I was brought up starting at 11 with my grandfather, and he taught me about magic. He taught me about seances. He taught me about how to invent and create and build a world that the public can buy into. And that is really what I'm all about. As much as I am a performer, I'm also a producer and an inventor.
Right, very good.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful, beautiful gift to be passed down to you.
I'm so thankful that my grandfather was who he was.
Yeah. And your grandmother, did he meet your grandmother through the sword swallow? Which came first, the sword swallowing or the marriage?
Yeah. Well, that's basically what happened was, at the age of 18, my grandfather was like, I'm going to become a vaudeville performer. I need to have a partner on the road. So he went hunting for his lady. And he was in a grocery store. This is in 1918. And he saw this beautiful girl in the aisle, and he said to his dad, he goes, who is that? And his dad said, that's Anastasia. And he goes, really? And he goes, yes, I know her father. And so my grandfather said, okay, you go and talk to him. Basically, the two fathers got together. He goes, well, you've got a cow, we've got a goat. Sounds good to us. Let's get together for a meal. And they broke bread. From what I heard, Grandma never even got to speak to him for the whole day of the dinner. But they had a weird kind of like energy going on, and the next day when they finally got to sit down and talk, there was a real spark there. Aww. And they were together right up until the last day that my grandmother was alive, and a fantastic coupling.
Did he teach her then the sword swallowing?
No, I think that she actually taught herself. Okay. In the respect that back then there wasn't a sideshow school where you could go and learn sword swallowing. You had to basically read about it, sadly, in books, and that's very hard to do, like learn something that dangerous from books. You usually have to have a mentor. Right. And my grandmother, because my grandfather was a smart man, he basically mentored her in the sense that he read the book, said, okay, this is what we know about our bodies, because he really understood the body well.
Right.
And he goes, if you're going to swallow a solid piece of steel that's 2 feet long, this is what you're going to have to do. And he spotted her while she swallowed her first sword. Now, when you swallow a sword for your first time, usually your body, when you finally get the sword past your gag reflex, will clench onto the steel, which will make you faint, and you will actually fall forward or backward. Well, this is very dangerous because you've got steel down your throat.
Right.
And so my grandfather spotted my grandmother to make sure that she would never hurt herself when she was attempting to get past the gag reflex, which took up to 2 years of work. Because when you brush your teeth, even if you get your toothbrush back too far, you'll gag. That's an important and natural effect for your body, so that you don't choke on things, such as if you swallow a large piece of steak. Now, the only problem is when you become a sword swallower, you've gotten rid of your gag reflex, and if by chance you do swallow a piece of steak and it gets lodged in your throat, your gag reflex will not allow it to bring it back up. And so you need somebody in the room that knows the Heimlich maneuver to actually pop it out of your throat, or else you're going to die.
So you can actually get rid of your gag reflex?
Completely rid of it, yeah.
And is that like with the sword cutting it away bit by
bit,
or
no.
just like sort of wearing it?
There's no cutting away of anything. It's the fact that you're basically training your body to not gag on a foreign object in your throat.
Okay.
Again, I guess on a sexual level, certain people have figured that out, like Linda Lovelace, to a point where they can do certain things to a point. But when you swallow a sword, you're swallowing down to the pit of your stomach, and your body reacts differently for every level that the sword goes down, from the back of your throat to your esophagus to between your lungs to your stomach, and you have to be very aware of how your body reacts to that, or you can harm yourself. Right. There are many performers that, when they even have practiced it before they've even hit the stage, have died trying to make this happen. Now, there are some great performers that actually can swallow a sword and do what we call a bow after they've swallowed the sword, where they actually bow with the sword in their gullet.
Wow.
And that's a very dangerous thing. A lot of times you can perforate your esophagus and your stomach while doing that, but when they do it properly, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess you got to see your grandmother performing then?
I never got to see her perform. She passed away in 1968 from, sadly, tuberculosis, which we now have cures for.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my grandfather stopped traveling in 68. As I said, my grandfather owned a show from 1920 through 1968. Okay. And he stopped performing when she passed away, because she was kind of his Gracie to his George Burns. So Gracie and Burns, it was the same thing with him. Once she was gone, he kind of was like, I'm now not going to do this side of my work anymore.
Yeah.
And he opened up a stationary tourist attraction after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with your show,
yes.
What sort of things do you do in I guess now how long is it starts at 10:30?
Yes.
At the Curtis Flea Market. And Lynn, what was the booth numbers for that again?
It's booth 106 and 107 of Building 1.
Okay.
Building 1 is the building closest to Bloor Street in Curtis.
Okay. And from Toronto, the best way to across the 401 and then down Curtis Road.
Mm-hmm. Take the Curtis Road exit. Go north on Curtis Road, and it's 2 major intersections after the 401.
Right.
There are signs, Ontario travel signs for the Curtis Flea Market, and you would turn left on Bloor from Curtis Road.
Right, and it's very quick. Like it's not very far off the highway at all. So
no, not at all.
Yeah, it's an easy commute. From the Toronto area.
Right. So you just passed Oshawa. You pass the Harmony exit. The next exit is Curtis Road.
Right. Okay.
And if you get to Bowmanville, you've gone too far.
Right. Yes. Now, okay. So the show starts at 10:30. And it goes until I believe about 12 noon. Is that?
Yeah.
Is it an hour and a half?
Well, given the fact that we have to seat everybody and things like that, I'm giving us 10:30 till 12 to get everybody seated and get it all settled in and everybody watching their show. But Scott, have you decided on how long you're going to perform?
The show will be about 45 minutes long.
Okay, very good. Yeah, very good. And what sort of things are you? You're not swallowing swords, are you?
Oh, goodness, no. That's the Sideshow. This is the Paranormal show I'll be performing.
Yeah. So what does that involve?
Well, I'll be doing some mind reading on stage. I will be...
Okay, stop.
Of course.
How do you do that?
Well, tapping into a person's head is an unusual thing, but I don't really read complete sentences or paragraphs out of a person's brain.
Okay.
When I'm on stage, I do a little test with a person I bring up from the audience, and I read a word that they're thinking out of their mind.
Okay.
But over and above that, I also, I'm not just a receiver, I'm also a sender. At one point in the show, I allow an audience member to actually read my mind, which seems like an impossibility if you're not used to that kind of thing. But I make it so because I actually send them an image in my head, and they get that image.
Yeah, very cool.
And actually draw it for me.
Right. Very cool. And, people must be so surprised, again, someone from the audience reading.
It's very empowering.
Oh, yeah.
And
I can imagine they would
this is the
love
beautiful
that.
thing about a show like this is it gives the audience the ability to be empowered. I do a thing called retrocognition. Which is the idea that the human mind can sometimes experience past events it's never experienced before. Sort of deja vu. And so basically what happens is I have a person come up from the audience. They help me solve a crime that took place over 100 years ago.
Okay.
But they solve it.
Isn't that neat?
They solve the crime.
Okay, so is this a legitimate crime that happened?
It's actually the crime of Jack the Ripper.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And how do you get the audience to do this?
Well, you have to come and see the show to see that.
Yeah.
Because really, that's instead of explaining it here, it's something you'll want to watch. Over and above that, though, we in the show itself, we play with unusual aspects of the paranormal. I may try tomorrow to attempt to move an object with the minds of the audience collectively, which is basically psychokinesis.
Right.
And then I'll move from that into a very mild, because I don't like to do a full-blown seance in the morning, but I will do I'll end the show with a seance where we may make contact with something.
Oh, so cool!
Yeah,
that'll be so cool. And what is it? Funny. It just seems funny in the morning. Okay, no ghosts or seances in the morning, please.
Not until after my coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, so many people think all this stuff has to happen in the dark.
Yeah.
Sex doesn't have to happen in the dark. Neither does ghosts.
Yeah. Yeah. Very. And Gary. Hi, Gary.
I'm here.
Gary's playing with the teal vibrator.
Yeah, Gary.
Yes.
This is. I'm so used to poor Gary's being overrun here. I'm so used to talking to him quite a bit and stuff like that. But I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
And I know I had before, but I forgot the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I do believe in ghosts. I do. No. I believe in, I don't know if I'd call it a ghost, but I do believe in another power and another medium. I think it would be foolish not to think there are spirits.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd have to say yes, but I guess the word I wouldn't use is ghost.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I had thought for some reason, I was thinking about it today, and I was thinking, I thought you had said that no, you didn't type of thing. Maybe no, because aliens. We've covered aliens.
Yeah. I do believe in something. It's kind of foolish to think that we're the only. You've heard that before. The only people in the universe or in the spiritual realm. I think there has to be something else.
Yeah,
I do.
Would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. And just looking at the time here, are we okay for commercial?
We are, if you want to do one. I mean,
actually, you know what? Let's do the song, and I'll just run through the commercials myself.
Okay, so let me switch. Okay.
Yep. We're doing the again. Spirits, ghosts. We're sort of putting. I tend to call them spirits too, but the song is. I didn't write it down, so like my usual, I don't know what the song is called or who did it, but it's a song something about ghosts anyway.
It's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
do you remember the name?
No,
no, neither do I.
I never do.
So here's our song on the weekend. You're listening to Sex by Hazzard. We'll be right back.
I'd like to sex the most. You're something of a haunted hottie, shaking that translucent body. You play it cool, give me a chill. Show yourself and I'll show you a thrill. Sexy, sexy ghost. You're not evil, you're no Casper. I'll tell you that I like it faster. Every day's like Halloween, when you're spooking in between my legs. You walk through the walls, knock shit on the floor. Come to my bed, I want more. Sexy, sexy ghost. You've given others quite a fright, kept them up night after night. The thought brings on such jealousy. When can it be just you and me? I need you to stop your creeping around, materialize, 'cause I wanna get down. Sexy, sexy ghost. Sexy, sexy ghost. Sexy, sexy ghost.
And welcome back. There's your little ghost song. Okay, and again, you talked about spirits and that sort of thing, and connecting with the audience. Is how long have you been doing this, and what are some other places that you're going to be, or how can people find out about you or get in touch with you?
Well, if you're interested more in the Paranormal Show, you can look it up on the internet. We have a website. That's theparanormalshow.net.
Okay, very good.
And I'm sorry. Or on Facebook. Yeah. Yeah, we are on Facebook. True enough.
Jessica, you're on the mic. You could have just talked. She's whispering over to him, right? What is the Facebook page, Jessica?
It's facebook.com/The Paranormal Show.
Okay.
Carnival Diablo is also on there. That's the Sideshow Scott mentioned briefly, and that's facebook.com/Carnival Diablo.
Yeah, very, very good. And Jessica, how long have you been working with Scott?
3 years, actually, as of last week.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the third anniversary of the first time I stepped onto really any stage outside of, high school theater and that sort of thing. Scott and I have known each other for about 4 years now. I actually started on as public relations, personal assistant, that sort of thing.
Very good.
And then the opportunity came up to perform in the show, and I was terrified.
Yeah.
But he twisted my rubber arms.
Yeah. Very good.
Jess is amazing.
Oh, stop.
Very good.
This girl walks on glass.
Oh, seriously?
Yes. And
in the show?
I do, yeah.
In the Carnival Diablo, for sure.
Oh, wow.
And she also
I lay on a bed of nails. Scott then takes a sledgehammer to my stomach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It crushes a 35-pound cinder block on my chest.
Wow.
It's amazing.
That's trust.
No kidding. And so, okay, how, it was interesting because this week I was talking about walking on coals.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine has done it, and it is something that I would be open to trying. How does it work? How do you lay on a bed and nails and have that happen without
very carefully?
Okay. Is it mind control? It is. Physical?
For me, it's a lot of. It never gets easy. It's something that you have to be very aware of. You have to definitely know your body. The first few times I did it, my body was sort of almost in sort of a minor shock because I could feel every single nail going into my back. Each individual
punctured your
it didn't. The skin's quite resilient, but it does leave quite a mark.
Okay.
You can see the indents for probably a good 10-15 minutes after I've been laying on the bed of nails.
Okay.
But for me it was a lot of sort of deep breathing and just kind of getting past that initial shock. But I mean it's at the point now where I still feel each individual nail. Right. But I can kind of just breathe through it, and it's a lot of mind over matter.
I was going to say,
sure.
Probably a combination. And then Scott, is there do you have to hit her with a hammer in a certain spot, or is there a trick to that?
There's no tricks in our show.
Okay.
Carnival Diablo's a circus sideshow. It's all based on understanding our bodies.
Okay.
We don't do magic tricks in Carnival Diablo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just, do you have to know a certain spot to hit then, or
hopefully not me?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just what we do.
And Jess is absolutely sexy while she's lying on that bed of nails. She's got the cutest little plaid bra on with the cutest little heart on over her bra so everybody can see the marks on her back and see the nails going to her flesh.
Wow.
So you see flesh. You see it all.
Yeah.
And see, I find it so silly. A lot of people, they'll sort of say, oh, here I am laying on a bed of nails, in my full suit. You could have a Kevlar vest on under there. With me, there's no way. Like, I can't be hiding anything under what I'm wearing.
It does bring a lot of legitimacy, I guess, to it. Being able to see the marks and that. And like you said, they could be having a suit on or something
exactly,
like that.
Yeah.
Well, too, if you think about it, swordsmen in the pirate days, they wore silk shirts because silk was impenetrable by swords. Silk.
Okay.
So all someone has to do is have on a silk robe, and it won't be the same feat as what Jess does.
Right. Yeah.
Jess's flesh is touching every single nail tip.
Wow.
And the board is bigger than this table. And this table is about 3 feet by 2.5 feet.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just like you said, you've got to have a lot of trust, eh?
Oh, definitely.
And there is something very, very sexy about it because it's that sense of adventure. It's that sense of, we're stepping out of our comfort zone. We're trying something new. And I think a lot of, probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of your show is based on perception isn't always what it is. And
yes.
Well,
that was the thing. Carnival Diablo is 21 years old. And in performing the show for as long as I have, we are the oldest running circus sideshow in Canada.
Okay.
And also, I changed the way people view sideshow worldwide. In 1992, when I started doing Carnival Diablo, I took women and put them in the position of men on stage. Sideshow was basically a male-dominated industry. Most sideshow feats were only performed by males. So the bed of nails was done by men because it was based on Indian fakir acts. Walking on broken glass, again, the same thing. It was done by a man. And these acts, I thought, would be even more interesting if you took the soft, supple flesh of a female and used it, because then it would become even more amazing and shocking, and also empowering. So I was the first sideshow historically to place a female in these acts. Now, sword swallowers have been male and female for the past century, But these other feats in the sideshow that were dangerous were only performed by men until I came around.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that neat? Yeah, very cool. And Randi, I wanted to, we've got you quiet over in the corner there. And I wanted to talk more about the booth there, because it doesn't just involve going and getting readings. There's also a lot of, first of all, will you be doing readings there as well, and hypnosis? What will be your role there?
We're going to have a fluctuating group of people doing readings, so there will be times when I will be doing readings, that's true. But one thing I want to touch on in terms of readings is a lot of times we get people coming and getting readings because they want to find out about their love life.
Right.
So they want to find out, is this the right person for me, or am I going to find Mr. Right, or, you know, the right person for me? It's quite interesting because a lot of times when women come, they want to find out if they're going to find their soulmate, right?
Right.
And a lot of times when men come, they also want their soulmate, but they want a little bit more information. They want to find out, what's she going to be like? They want a little bit more of a visual thing in terms of what this person's going to be like. And the women just say, you know, well, you know, as long as he's got a good sense of humor or something like that. So it's interesting seeing the differences when the men and the women come for readings.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. In fact, it's interesting. A friend of mine, goes to psychics quite often, and was also would do the phone psychics. And
did you say phone psychic sex?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I see an orgasm in your future. But he
only if you do this.
Yeah.
See, they can't see what I was doing with my hand.
That's right.
I was doing the upside down jar opening act.
Yeah. But one of the things a reader had said to him was that she was going to be blonde, and he was so fixated on this, or maybe it was brunette, and he had met a blonde, and you know it was so, and well, it couldn't be her, and I finally said to him, I said, you know, she can dye her hair. You know, it's because the reader saw her as a blonde or a brunette. You know, it maybe because he didn't even know this woman yet or talked to her, and you know, and it could have been maybe she was going to be dyeing her hair, and he was so fixated on that, you know, and wouldn't let go of that hair color isn't necessarily a hard, fast, and always situation, right? Women change their hair colors.
Women like to fake it.
Yes.
Sorry, guys.
Well, yeah. The other thing, too, about a reading, the moment the message is given out, change happens.
Yes.
Choices get made. And the moment a choice is made or a change happens, the direction could change. At the moment the reader is giving the reading, that person could have blonde hair. Like myself, in the summer I was blonde. Now I'm red.
Right.
Next week, who knows?
That's right. Yeah.
Guaranteed I'll never be gray.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is the thing. The choice is the minute the word is put out of the mouth of the reader.
Right.
Change happens because now information has been shared.
Right.
And especially when it involves other people, you know, that you're always dealing with the free will of both yourself and this other person. So, you know, for example, when I'm doing my tarot readings, I can say, you know, these are what the cards are telling me if things are to continue as they are at this moment. But, you know, this person over here may make a decision that changes that. So it's always...
Right. That's right.
Chaos.
Yes. Yeah. And Randi, what other sort of products, though? It's not just for readings. There's products available for sale. So tell us about what can they buy at the booth?
We're going to be having a lot of consignment items, so we're going to have spirit cards, and we're going to have paintings by some of our spirit artists.
Oh, very cool.
To start off, and so there's going to be a rotating amount of different products coming through all the time, so if people come one time, it'll be something different the next time.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Will there be some items that they'll be able to get on a continuous, like, will you always have gemstones or crystals? I know, Lynn, I've got one of the necklaces that you made. I won it in a as a prize a while ago, and will you be having your jewelry there and selling your jewelry there?
Per se, no.
Okay.
And the reason is my booth shop, my second business, is right beside Freya.
Very good.
So what we've decided to do is if Freya brings in products, it'll be products that my business Motivated Motion doesn't have, because we have now my business and our partnership business, so we have the two together, and we did that purposefully,
right?
Because we have a following of people that are like-minded that come to the booth area,
right,
with a purpose. So when we chose to put Freya beside my booth, it was because we would be making sure that everybody could congregate in the same area and hang out. And so I've purposely have chosen not to put certain products in Motivated Motion, so in the future Freya will be able to have them, so that we'll never have a conflict of interest.
Right.
But there will always be some times that Motivated Motion will have some sort of intimate relationship with Freya.
Right, of course.
Like this opening, Motivated Motion is donating the prize for the scavenger hunt draw that we're doing for grand opening Saturday.
Right.
And that'll be a scavenger hunt that is a seek and find mission. You'll be given a piece of paper. You can go around the flea market from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. Following the clues for your to collect stamps from booths.
Okay.
Around the flea market, and when you collect all your stamps, you get your name in for the prize draw. So it'll be a very significant prize. And we have a door prize also that's been donated by one of our beautiful psychic artists.
Oh, very
it's
cool.
amazing painting. It made me drool this evening when I saw it.
Oh, very cool.
I almost had an orgasm right there when I saw it. And so we'll have a door prize for that. So we'll have the two prizes, and those are going off on Saturday.
Okay, and now, besides the artwork, I guess, you know what I've been trying to get out of one of you guys for the last 5 minutes is the soap. What sort of other products? I know you mentioned last night you've got soap there.
Yeah, we'll eventually be having soap. I'm not sure if this weekend we're going to have any products available, because it's such a big deal with having the Paranormal show in.
But
There's
you
will
be
at
the Motivated
in the future at Freya. One of our psychics makes handmade beauty products and soap and things like that, lip balm. So that will be one of the products that will be there.
Very good.
Definitely.
Now, what about the metaphysical books or incense? What other sort of things will people be able to purchase when they're there?
So far, what we've been sticking to is that all of our psychics have little niches which they're really good at.
Okay.
Little things that they create. And we've given them the opportunity to bring these in on consignment so they can sell them through the shop.
Okay, very good.
And these are wonderful things like artist cards, blank cards that you could use as thank you cards and gift cards and things like that.
Oh, very nice.
There will be small paintings.
Okay.
Small prints, and I'm just thinking if there was something else. I think there is.
Well, there's going to be a whole collection of things over time.
Oh, very
and
good.
We're looking for people that come by the booth to tell us what they'd like us to bring in and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
In terms of what their interest is.
And from time to time, we will have some authors drop by on a Saturday morning and do book signings. So during the book signings, there will be books available.
Oh, very good.
When we do certain classes, we'll have meditation tapes available, or CDs available for sale along with the meditation class. If there is a class which requires some sort of kit to be purchased to do the class, we'll make sure that we have them.
Oh, very good.
That kind of thing.
It sounds to me like, it's going to be a very interactive type of place, almost like a gathering, a community. Like I can picture people coming just to be around that energy and to be in that environment. And what a blessing for people in the Durham region and Toronto to be able to have a gathering spot like this.
And it's a door opening experience for some people. You know, this might be someone's first experience with a psychic.
Right.
So we've tried to make it so that it's economical.
Right.
It isn't over zealous.
Right.
So you don't have to sit in a chair for 2.5 hours because some people might be overwhelmed.
Right.
This is a taste of what it could be like to go for a major reading. So we'll be starting out with mini readings.
Very good.
And they're 15 minutes each, and they're $20, which is very reasonable.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And I do not think there will be any problems in the future with booking appointments. As we evolve, we'll be evolving an appointment system that maybe people might even be able to do online in the future.
Very, very cool.
But at the moment, right now, we're sticking with keep it simple.
Right.
Because we have to grow, and we've grown very fast already.
Yes.
We took on this business very quickly, and we decorated it and grew it and got our clientele and did everything very fast. It was probably a whirlwind venture for us.
Yes, yeah. Okay, we'll come back in a minute to, again, talking about, where to see the show and that type of thing. We've got, of course, we have to do my slutty friend Rhonda, if Gary's going to get the music ready. Hello, Gary.
I am. I was just looking at the phone.
Okay.
I think I have that ready to go.
Okay, I'm going to cover a couple things before we do.
Let me know when you're ready.
Yes. First of all, 10% off at Naughty But Nice in Oshawa if you mention Sex by Hazzard or Reality Radio. And all your sex toy, lingerie, any purchases there, just drop in and say hi. And they're also available online as well.
Forget the teal one. Get the purple one.
Yes. But the teal would match my nail polish, though.
It would, but the purple one's flexible and the guys can use it too.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Multi-purpose, right?
Yeah. It's U-shaped if you don't know what I'm talking about.
I think I know that one. Also, Justin and Melinda, where they're now calling themselves Whiskey River, and they will be playing this Saturday at the Social Lounge in Whitby, Saturday night. So if you are in the Whitby area, check them out. And I've got, an unusual show next week. I'm going to have an actual sex therapist in the house next week. Dr. Floyd Spence will be in here. So if you have anything that you want to call in about, email in through the week along that line, Dr. Spence will be here. Okay, and now we're going to do Rhonda. This is the part, and don't look at me while I'm doing it or blush. You don't want me blushing, trust me. Actually, she's very tame tonight.
Can we do sound effects?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can moan right along to the music. Yeah. There. Okay. Change over. Hi, folks. Let me tell you, I love all things paranormal, and Halloween is my favorite time of year. My costumes are always sexy, of course, and last year I dressed up as a sexy witch. Dave, the guy that I was seeing at the time, took me to a haunted farm that gave tours. We had to walk through a dark barn, and people that worked there would jump out and scare you. Right before the end, Dave grabbed my hand and left me behind the barrier, and there was not any staff there at all. He leaned me against the wall and pulled up my witch's skirt, and before I could protest, he slid deep inside of me. We could hear people screaming less than 10 feet from us. We let out a few screams of our own, and when we left the haunted house, we looked more happy than scared. So there you go. There's Rhonda. Short, eh, Gary?
That's really short.
Yeah, I don't know what she was up to. Short and not nearly as bad as she usually is.
Holy moly.
But that's this week's Rhonda. And, time, I told you, time just goes by so fast when you're here, eh? Randi, again, if someone's interested in hypnosis, they can't make it to the booth, how can they get in touch with you?
I work out of Harmony Health and Wellbeing. It's on 231 King Street East, and I do soul hypnosis and past life regression there.
Very good.
Yeah.
Harmony Health and Wellbeing?
That's right.
Very good. And Lynn, the Facebook page is, what is that called again? Freya
Metaphysical Enterprises, Inc. And it's facebook.com/Freya Metaphysical Enterprises, Inc. And each of the words, Freya Metaphysical Enterprises and Inc., have a capital letter. All the rest are lowercase.
Very good. Yeah, very good. Or come out to the Curtis Flea Market. It's on Bloor Street in Curtis, and there is well signed from the highway, and it is worth the drive out to see the show. And you too. It's been such a pleasure to have you on. It's been so interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Jessica, like, very, very brave woman. Yeah, I can now say I've met a woman that's laid on a bed of nails. That's what's more sexier, really.
And she's not even into S&M.
Yeah, yeah. Other than having a hammer hit in your stomach, right?
Well, a day's work,
Yeah, yeah. And Scott, again, how can what's your Facebook, your website, the Paranormal Show
the paranormalshow.net. Yeah.
.net, yes. Or on Facebook, it's
Facebook.com/The Paranormal Show and Facebook.com/Carnival Diablo.
Carnival Diablo, okay.
Yeah.
And it's such a pleasure. I'm really hoping that I can get out to the show. I know quite a few of my friends will be going and seeing it, and I know of people that have seen your show before in the past, and they said it was absolutely fantastic. And I had no idea about the history involved, and it really truly is in your blood.
It is, and it's something I think that the audience will get a kick out of, because they can really see the passion in the show itself.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. Well, best wishes for Saturday, and the other thing that I want to stress to the listeners is the show is this Saturday, but the Curtis Flea Market is open every Saturday and every Sunday all year round. They go throughout the wintertime too. I believe the hours are 10 to 6?
No, it's 9 a.m. till 4:30 p.m.
And that's both days, the Saturday and the Sunday.
And if you want to come and see us, enter the front building under the triangle awning and just look to the right. We'll be right there.
Yes. That's the place where they have the pickled eggs and sausages and that
The pickled eggs and sausages are in the front of the building. If people know the flea market, that area used to be the Newfoundland store.
Right,
We're big beside the big giant safe. Isn't that sexy? A big giant safe.
Yeah.
But it's made of steel, not latex.
Yeah, very good. Check it out, folks. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. At definitely a different show. And of course, I want to thank my sponsors. We didn't get to the commercials, but we know Jillian's Jewelry Box on Facebook and SugarMySkin.com. Lovely Teresa that we all know. And of course the Down Omer too, and thank you to Static and the Stars for my theme song, and of course you too, Gary, and the listeners.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to. Sorry,
you had a quiet night. You got to have a quiet night.
I caught up on the emails from monitoring everything.
Yeah.
Thank you. But it's very interesting. Thank you.
And remember, folks, do your part for world peace and have an orgasm tonight. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
You've been listening to Sex by Hazzard with your host, Jen Hazzard, right here on Reality Radio 101. Coming up, it's the best pop and rock music ever recorded, right here on your internet radio station, Reality Radio 101.